This is Jill Pack with the Seasons of Joy podcast. This is episode 123 entitled Identifying Subconscious Patterns with Marci Owen. Are you a woman of faith who is struggling to navigate your current season of life? Do you feel like life is just happening to you instead of for you? My name is Jill Pack, and I'm a certified faith-based life coach and a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I want you to know that no matter your season or your circumstance, it is possible to create a more joyful life, and I would love to show you how. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, my friends. Welcome to this week's episode of the Seasons of Joy podcast. I'm so happy to be here, and I want to thank you for being here today. Hopefully, something that I say will resonate with you and that you'll be able to see an area where maybe you could get a different perspective or get some clarity around because of what we talk about today. And having said that, I just wanted to remind you that if you're feeling a little bit stuck or overwhelmed in some way, I would love to chat. I offer what I like to call a clarity conversation. It's a one-on-one conversation where we dive into whatever is on your mind, and we work together to gain some fresh perspective and some clarity around how to navigate this struggle or what your next best step is. So if you're ready and you want to explore, I would love to help you do that. I would love to be your coach. So just check out my website, www.seasons-coaching.com, and then click on the Work With Me tab. And there you'll find how to schedule that clarity conversation, or just visit the show notes where I will include the link. So today, I am so excited to share with you an interview that I recently had with my friend and coach colleague, Marci Owen. Now, Marci is an advanced certified trauma-informed life coach who specializes in helping women who don't feel like they're good enough to love themselves and cultivate self-confidence. With advanced training in nervous system resilience and story coach certification, Marci excels at uncovering and healing subconscious patterns that keep individuals feeling small. Her work is dedicated to empowering clients to come home to who they truly are, guiding them to heal from past experiences and embrace a life of compassion, fulfillment, and empowerment. Marci is also the host of her own podcast entitled the Courageous and Confident Christian Mom podcast. Now, in this conversation, we mentioned her self-love lab, and she is going to be opening the doors up in November on Black Friday for the next round that starts in January 2025. So listen to this conversation and you'll get a feel for what it is like to work with Marci. So now on to this week's conversation. All right. Okay. I am with my friend and fellow coach colleague, Marci Owen. I'm so thrilled to have her. I followed Marci for a long time. I don't know that she knows it, but I followed her for a long time. So I'm so excited to have her on the podcast. So Marci, I'm going to have you introduce yourself. Just tell us a little bit about you so the listeners can get to know you. And then I would love to hear how you came to coaching. I would love to hear your story.
Okay. So I'm an advanced certified trauma-informed life coach, and I specialize in helping women that don't feel like they're good enough. I help them love themselves and cultivate some confidence. And I also am advanced trained in nervous system resilience and regulation. And I have found that that is the missing link big time. And then I'm also a story coach, which I have absolutely loved adding that work on. And it just spoke to my heart for myself and my people, my women. So what that is I help uncover, and that's what we're going to talk about today, but I help uncover and heal from subconscious patterns that keep us stuck, that keep us small. And it's because we have stories from our past experiences. Healing those stories is such a beautiful, sacred work. So I like to say how this work helps you come home to who you truly are.
I love that.
you know. And then I
Yeah.
also have my own podcast called the Courageous and Confident Christian Mom Podcast.
Yes. I love it. So good.
So that's a little bit about me. I'm a mom, I'm a grandma, love football. I'm out, I've played a lot of sports, 3 boys, all grown up. All of them moved out of the state, which is super rude.
That is really unkind.
So not nice.
So not
So
nice. That's brutal. And they take their kids with them.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
down to the heart.
yeah, that was really
Dang.
hard.
Yeah, that's super hard.
So how I got into coaching, well, I have always been I've been a fitness instructor. Okay. And so you have to take CEUs, continuing education credits, And
Hmm.
so I always found myself drawing towards mindset. So there's always been that there. And then my husband and I, we moved from our neighborhood that we raised our boys in of 26 years. We moved to a completely different area. And we're like, I don't know why we're doing that. The house is where we want, the house is there. Like it's not in the right area where we want to be, we thought, but must be a reason why. And it was totally so that I could meet my friend, she became my friend. And I learned about Brooke Castillo and the Life Coach School and Jody Moore from her. And it just fit. It just felt like home to me. And so we went through certification together. But for me to make that decision, like I knew I wanted a little bit more because my youngest was on a mission, totally threw me for a loop. Like, who am I? What the heck you know,
Yeah.
what happens when we become empty nesters. And I'm teaching fitness classes, but it's just an hour or so a day. And I wanted more, but I just didn't want to go get a job. Nothing against this, but I wanted to do something that really made a difference. So I had my feelers up. And so when that came along, I'm like, that's it. But it was like it's expensive to get certified at the life
Yeah.
coach school, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
And
Me
so
too.
for me to commit to that, I prayed about it and I'm like, okay, I'm going to just make sure. And the thought that came to me was, Marci, you are underutilizing yourself.
Oh, I love that.
And I'm like, okay, I'm signing up.
Yeah.
And that's the next best thing to being a mom and a grandma is
Yeah.
being a coach and
Yeah.
helping women change their lives. It's
Yeah.
just the
It's a
best.
beautiful, and I love how you said it's sacred work,
Oh,
right? To bring people back to who they are and understanding who they are, what their value is, what their worth
yeah.
is sacred work. And I think as Christians, right, we
Hmm.
can see there's just such richness and deepness to that
Hmm.
belief because it's more expansive than we realize.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is sacred work.
Yeah, I love
I,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So you work with a lot of women,
Yes.
middle-aged women, younger
30s to
women.
50s, 30s to 60s, I should say.
Yeah.
But I
Okay.
also have, I have some in their 20s.
Yeah.
And I've also coached a little bit of men, but, more, it's just here and there.
So in the beginning, you said something about the subconscious patterns
Yeah.
that you kind of help people understand. So explain that a little bit.
A subconscious pattern is it impacts, how we show up, us if we can be authentic or not. And it's also known as like a coping strategy. So
Hmm.
it helps you survive. We have experiences in our life that leave how I like to say an imprint on us. And it imprints on our nervous system. And so we all experience trauma in one form or another. Okay. It could be
Hmm.
from a perceived slight to negative feedback to like something as innocent as a new brother or a new sibling being born, then to abuse or loss or accident, or injury. We
Hmm.
all have stuff that we've experienced that leaves a mark on us. With that, we have these experiences that if we don't heal them, we don't understand what we've made it mean about our life or ourselves, and if we can't see the patterns, that this fortress that we've put around us to protect us, then the patterns, they get in our way. They keep us stuck. And what I really noticed with myself and my clients, the patterns make us small. We kind of shrink a little bit because we just can't really dare be ourselves, because somewhere along the way, we've had experiences where it wasn't good to be ourselves. And
Yeah,
so,
it keeps you safe, right? It's all in an effort to keep you safe. And I love that explanation about how it keeps you small and how it holds you back from
yeah.
being your true self. And I think if we look back at what you said about your coaching experience, right? And the message to you was you're not utilizing you,
Mhm.
right? And so
Yeah.
that's when we have those patterns, we're not living our fullest self. We don't
Yeah.
get to experience life in a way, in a richer, deeper way.
And that's why I think this work is sacred, because I think God wants us to
Mhm.
live our fullest expression of ourselves. He
Mhm.
needs us to.
Yeah.
He wants us to, because he wants us to shine and to learn and to grow and to fulfill our measure of creation. But he also needs us to do that. And that's what we're doing as coaches.
Yeah.
We're doing that. We're helping, we're taking what we've learned and our skills and our knowledge, and then we're helping women then not be small.
Well, and I think it's an ongoing work even for a
Oh,
coach,
totally.
right? Even for a coach. It's not that we have this all figured out, but we're learning it and we're slowly figuring it out. And I think that's what makes it so fun to share is
Yeah.
because we've experienced the change in our own life
Mhm.
and we want that for other people. And
Oh
what a beautiful world, more beautiful world it would be if everybody understood how
my gosh.
amazing they are, right? And that they let their light shine for good in the
Yeah.
world. We wouldn't be where we are today
Yeah.
in society, right?
Right. I mean, people need to know about this stuff.
And one thing I like to look at too, I love how you said, talked about the trauma piece, because I think that's a word we hear a lot,
Mm.
but not necessarily understand. I think it's easy for some people to go, well, I haven't really experienced any trauma,
Everybody has.
right? But everybody has. It's just, and no one person's trauma is necessarily trauma for someone else,
Right.
right? Like everybody experiences those things
Different
differently.
degrees.
And then they shape that lens. I call it the context filter or just our lens of that we see life through
For ourselves.
for ourselves. And
Yeah.
the way we view the world is
Yep.
affected by those experiences.
Or others. Like I have some
Yeah.
clients that, with what she's been through, what they've been through, her filter is people are bad because people hurt her. People
Mm,
that she would just should be able to trust and be safe with, they hurt her. They abused
yeah.
her,
Uh-huh.
you know?
Yeah.
And
And so
so
that's
she's
for sure.
walking around going, ah,
And that's definitely going to keep you small and not want to put yourself out there.
yeah.
So when you say that you help them heal those stories,
Mhm.
bit about that.
What we do is we identify key moments
Okay.
in their lives, like so experiences where we had an emotional response, where it left that imprint, identify those moments, and then see what the story was that was created, the belief that we're now operating from. And then that's where we start to shift that story, because it's just a story. It's just a collection of thoughts. We can also identify the patterns that stop us. Like they protected us at one point, but they're getting in the way now.
And I think it's so good you point that out because sometimes I think people can maybe as they uncover kind of a story that they have, they kind of get hard on themselves and they don't wish they didn't have that story,
Mhm.
right? But it's like that story or that way of being, that pattern protected you at a time when it needed to, right? So it's not that we have to be mad at it. It's
No.
right.
And
It's
and
just
here's the thing
awesome.
I would love to speak to that
Yeah.
is because we do get shame, we feel shame about it or frustration, like what's wrong with me? Why can't I let this go? When we don't see that part, that wounded part of ourselves, it's like we are going to live our life with the trauma still going on as if it's still going on. It's unchanged, the volume's turned up, right? And so every new experience or event that's similar, it's contaminated by that past experience and it activates our nervous system. And so that's the one thing. But the other thing that's super important is that wounded part of us that has the story, that created the story, that was our experience. And that matters. That so much matters. And so when we shame ourselves or get frustrated with, and we want to like, come on, get what's wrong with you and get impatient, we'll never heal. It'll stay there. And the work that I love doing personally and with my clients is that wounded part of you needs to be seen. And so I teach them how to see that wounded part and to like what at that time, whenever a story was created, what did she need to hear?
Mhm.
What did she need? What kind of care did she need? And that part, because all of us just want to be seen,
Mhm.
especially those wounded parts of us
Mhm.
and cared for. And so, like, I can give you an example. I was a junior high and I really struggled with math. And my mom got me a tutor. And so I remember going over to their house one day after school. And I don't remember all the details. I just remember the imprint on my nervous system and then the thoughts, what I made it mean about me. And I did not understand what I did not understand him. There was not a connection, right? And he started to get mad. He started to get frustrated with me. And the more that happened, I started to shut down. I don't know what he said to me. I think he yelled at me. And all I know is I ran home bawling, went down into my room on my bed, and I was just sobbing. You see how that was I had an emotional response to that. And the belief system that was created at that time, I'm stupid. That's what my, seventh grade little self made that mean. I'm stupid. I'm not good at math. It's unsafe to do it wrong. If I don't get it right, I'm going to get in trouble. Like this isn't the story that was created. If I don't understand, I'll get in trouble. I need to be perfect. I'm bad. And so doing that work with understanding that key moment and then like, oh yeah, that I like, cause you remember those things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or
Totally.
some of them will bubble up. Some might be down in the attic, up in the attic. And as you kind of start to look, if it bubbles up, it's safe to look at. But that's the story. That was my lens, my perception of me at that time. And so the pattern was subconsciously formed was, I don't speak up. I don't want to get in trouble. And then I have this proving like I have to get things right. Like for me to be safe. So I don't get in trouble. So, but like when I became, a business owner and I'm trying to write copy, oh my word. My brain was in the fetal position. It's like I had a lid on my brain. It's like, no, it was so hard, such a struggle. And not knowing that pattern that it was protecting me, I'm thinking, what the heck's wrong with me? There's something wrong with me. Why can't, because it's inside my head. When it comes to like letting it out, it's like jumbled.
And so when you realized like when was it then you realized that was your pattern? Like what did that look like for you?
Oh, well, I was doing the work, I was in the story coach certification when I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I just knew that was an unpleasant situation that I had, but I didn't realize that I made it mean I'm stupid. And then as I, then is it like you notice times where You're trying to do something and you get frustrated. And that's part of the handout, the PDF that I have to give everybody. Like, what keeps showing up when we get frustrated with something? There's a pattern. And that's where we start to take a look at it. As soon as I realized my story about it, and also what it did to my nervous system, because it would activate it, it would dysregulate me. And when we get dysregulated, our thinking skills diminish. And depending on how dysregulated they are, we can actually be shut off, right?
Right.
But just understanding the core experience and the story, and then seeing the pattern. And then I start to like go to like, what did I need to hear at that time?
Yeah.
What did I need? I needed to hear, you know what? It's not your fault. You know, we need to just, let's find somebody else that is on your level. It's nobody's fault, but also you're not dumb. You're not stupid. So I just needed to hear the opposite things. Like, and you know what? You don't have to be perfect. We make mistakes. We don't like it. And sometimes we can, like when we're trying to understand something, it might be hard sometimes, and that's okay. I just needed to hear stuff like that. I needed somebody to put their arm around me and say, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I'm not going anywhere. You're safe with me.
Be that person that you needed
Yes.
at the time.
That's the beautiful sacred work that we do, is seeing that wounded part of us and then giving her what she needs. Because then the healing happens and then it starts to dissolve. So beautiful.
So beautiful. You know what stood out to me as you were talking about that? The thought that came to my mind was it isn't even about finding blame, right? It's not like trying to identify this tutor as this horrible person. You may say they didn't handle it right, but it's more about meeting you where you are and helping you heal instead of trying to find blame somewhere.
And it's not like shushing me and saying, "Oh, just get over it." Like, what's the problem? He was just trying to help you. Like, no, you shouldn't be that upset. We wouldn't want anybody to do that to us, and we sure don't want to do it to ourselves.
No. And I think when we do that, that's just going to linger.
Well,
right?
it goes unhealed. And then we can get triggered more because it's still raw. And the nervous system, any detection of any threat of a similar, like for me, writing copy, it's like, we can't do that wrong. That's a threat.
Right.
And so my nervous system like activates, goes into threat response. And I lose thinking, part of my thinking. And then I'm like, what? Not knowing that? So frustrating.
Well, and I loved how I want to touch on this because it fits really well with this. You said when you found the nervous system work.
Oh my gosh.
Right. That was the game changer for you. That was the missing piece. So explain that a little bit.
The mindset stuff is important. I mean, we have to know, but if you're dysregulated, if you don't know what's going on with your nervous system and you get activated, you cannot think your way out of a body problem. And in this work, not knowing about the nervous system, we can get so frustrated with ourselves because we're like, I'm trying to do the model. I know the model. I know my circum. I can't get rid of this thought. I can't move on. And so I'm doing it wrong. What's wrong with me? No, it's a body thing. It's a nervous system thing. And that's why you can't change it, because it's like, nope, the body will always overrule the mind. That's its job.
Wasn't it like I heard this number? I think I heard Leah say it. It's 80% body, 20% brain. Is that right?
We've got a highway going from the brain down to the body and the body up to the brain. And so the messages that we're receiving, 80% of that highway feedback is from the body going up to the brain. 20% from down into the body.
Because most of us think, well, I just got to figure this out. Right? I just got to think
we got to just regulate. We got to know what that is. And then how to widen our zone of resilience.
Yeah. Speak to that a little bit.
There's things that we need to do that helps us like have a healthy nervous system. Like you think about, we brush our teeth every day. We have really good dental hygiene and we have to do that every day, and so that our teeth can be okay. And we kind of have to do the same thing for our nervous system. And there's 5 non-negotiables. And the first one is sleep, 7 to 9 hours of sleep, and then the second one is we want to get sunlight. We need to get outside and get in the sun. And then the third one is movement, kind of move our bodies. And fourth one is nutrients, getting a good, healthy foods. And the fifth is relationships. And it's relationship with self, relationship with others, and relationship with God, with a higher power. And those 5 non-negotiables, they impact our nervous system, like our hormones, our immune system, our gut in direct and indirect ways. It's crazy, how those things really matter. And so when we take the time to do those things, we are helping our nervous system. We can complete stress cycles like by going on a walk, moving our body, being in the sunlight, moving it. That helps complete a stress cycle. While I'm out there, I'm going to take some deep breaths too, and maybe use my senses. And then self-care is huge. A lot of times I found that women, they just don't know what they need. They don't take time for the self-care. Being able to know what that is and then putting those things in our day as well helps widen our zone of resilience. And it could be things like mindfulness, regulation, which we haven't even talked about yet, gratitude, practice, connection with one of those 3, right? Nature, controlled breathing, resting, music.
Just adding all those things in.
Yeah. It's not that hard.
No.
To listen to a playlist,
Yeah. Well, I think that the issue is really choosing to add it in, right? I think so many of us live on default and we do things the way we've always done.
In a pattern.
Yeah, we have those subconscious patterns that keep us just functioning that way. And if we don't stop and notice, we're just not going to be able to choose on purpose.
But knowledge is power. Like we have to even know that it's a thing.
We don't know what we don't know. We've heard that
seriously
times before.
So many of us are walking around dysregulated and we don't know it because I was in functional freeze most of my life. I just thought that, and having a hard time thinking, but still functioning. I just thought that was me. Oh, I was dysregulated. And when I learned that in that course, I started to cry because I'm like, oh my gosh, that part of me that's been struggling and thinking something's wrong with her because she can't freaking get what's in her head out because I'm in functional freeze. That just, it's so huge to know what's going on with your nervous system.
So in the notes that we've kind of shared, you mentioned something about how to identify and shift. You've talked about how things impact our nervous system and ways we can kind of add to our life to build our zone of resilience so that we can add some pause in our life. That's what I like to call it, is just adding little pauses in our life to allow some space in there to kind of take a deep breath and kind of be more intentional, right? But how to identify and shift.
So we want to, this, like I have a handout to share. So I kind of mentioned this before, like we need to notice where we repeatedly get frustrated in a certain area. Okay. Or notice where you hesitate or where you get distracted because there's pattern there that's you're bumping up against that we're getting frustrated with or distracted with or overwhelmed. Like some of the, let me just mention some of the patterns to look like what they look like. It could be withdrawing. And I kind of mentioned that earlier, shrinking, acting defensively. Also, one that I noticed is you talk a lot and you talk fast and maybe ask questions that you already know the answer to. But it's kind of like we're trying to be safe with whatever the situation is. And so we might shrink ourselves a little bit, giving in or apologizing when we didn't do anything wrong. Again, you see how that pattern is creating, let's stay safe here. People pleasing, trying to be in control of everything. Oh my gosh, be in control, then everything will be okay. Some of us have had patterns that we've had to be in control to keep things okay in our lives, And so that was good, but then it also gets in the way. Being the strong one all the time or the victim all the time, complicating a task. Like that's maybe causing overwhelm so that we just can't actually do the thing because, it's more protective because then we don't do it wrong. Confusion, comparing, self-pity. So those are just some patterns to kind of be aware of.
And so when you notice a pattern,
Mhm.
right, that's identifying it, then what?
Then notice where we repeatedly get frustrated in a certain area. And then just kind of sit back and go, what do I do instead? What am I doing? Like I'm trying to do a thing and I'm not able to do it. So what do I do instead? Do I get on my phone and scroll? Do I keep trying to write and then erase it and start over and write? And like, what do I do instead? Then it's really interesting to ask yourself, what are my common excuses for this? And I like to say, and I don't know, is one of them. I don't know. Yeah, that's safe, or that this is just the way I am. I like to give this little heads up. Watch out for what feels really true and factual because it's a freaking excuse.
Can you give like an example, like with that?
Some people will just like, that is a label that just rolls off their tongue like this is factual. Like, I'm just an open book. Or I don't know. I'm not good at math. I can never reach my goals. I just can't ever get myself to do it. Or I don't know how to write. I'm just not a good writer. I'm not articulate. I'm not good at that. And it feels super true. We have a lot of evidence to back it up. Or I'm not a good mom.
Those are so good. I think listeners can probably identify with at least one of those, right?
And there's lots of them, but like
Lots
we're
of them.
totally like in that story. This is true about me. It's a story. It's not true. It's just a story. It's just what you made things mean.
I love that.
So the next thing is what thoughts come up when you're trying to take action that actually stop you. So, you know what? I can't get this wrong. I don't want to get in trouble. I have to got to do this perfect. The next one is what action are you trying to do when you notice you feel the resistance or feel destabilized? What are we trying to do? So it could be writing copy or creating programs or deciding what to name my podcast or, like whatever, or personal, like, I want to tell my husband something and I just can't get myself to be vulnerable to like share it with him. Like that is such a powerful locked down vault that I have in me that that I have to work through. And that like a lot of my clients, like there's stuff in there that we want to connect, but the pattern is nope, we don't, because we've been hurt. It's just this storm like inside of us that we just can't speak up and say it's in our heart or even stick up for ourselves with our husband or, because like maybe when we tried to do that with our parents, it didn't go so well for us.
Yeah. I'm thinking of a pattern when I was early married. I would go to the pattern behavior of the silent treatment, withdrawing, right? Like it was just like, I didn't dare say what I wanted or share how I really felt. I just would cut off and be quiet. It just is so instinctual because you're believing the story of, well, it just doesn't matter. What I say doesn't matter. Or whatever it is. Yeah. And it happens so automatically.
Yeah. That's the thing. The subconscious, boom, it's on it.
It's powerful.
And that's why it's so important to understand these patterns, because a lot of us think, well, I can't do anything about it. That's just the way I am. Yes, we can. But we have to be aware of what's going on.
Be able to shift that.
And then like the last thing is just like, we've got to ask ourselves, when's the earliest time I can remember? Like, when do I think this story or this pattern was created? When do I think, and see what key memories come up? And, that's sometimes we need a coach to help us do that. But that's important to be able to try to connect the dots because that's then how we heal.
Well, and I think it allows you to get specific. Sometimes when we think just in generalities, it feels so big. And I think that's what makes it feel so true, is because it's become this label or this identifier that we have. But if we can go to a specific time and identify that, then I think it gives us some wiggle room to change our perception of it.
Yeah, then we can start to debate that,
and then we
you
can,
know?
is this really true? And
Yeah,
and
or
even if it is, sometimes when I work with people, I say, well, it feels true right now. What else is true? Let's just explore with what else could be true or what is true. Let's leave that here for a minute and explore this over here so that we can maybe argue against that a little bit. We'll have more evidence of what is true and diminish this other thing we've believed forever.
I like to yes. And I just like to say they're all thoughts, like delusional, right?
Yeah.
So why not be delusional in a way
Another way.
that serves us?
Exactly.
Because it's our story and we get to decide it's our story. We get to write it and we can rewrite it.
That's
We don't have to have permission from anybody but ourselves.
And it's like, if you think about like, what story do you want to write about your life? What do you want your story to be? That's an interesting question because I don't know that people really consider that.
I know because we don't know that it's a thing that we can actually do that. I remember like, wait, what? Like, wait, the how I've interpreted this, you mean that's not like a factual thing? Wait, what? Okay. And I can change that? What? Oh, like, oh my heck, I can't.
Do you see both? Like, do you see people that are like you said, when you realized that you're just like, you were so excited. Do you see other people where they're a little more hesitant to
Oh yeah.
like they don't want to let go of
Mhm.
that story?
Because in a way there's could be few different reasons, but it could be serving them. Then we don't have to take responsibility. We can just be a victim and blame somebody else or blame a life circumstance. But like, then nothing changes and things stay miserable. We don't get to be, feel good and feel fulfilled and do what we want to do, or some of them, it's like, feels too scary or we don't want to get our hopes up because what if we fail what if we can't really be successful in changing it?
I see that a lot too. It's like, I'm just going to choose to be miserable.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to choose this because this is what I know.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just stay here.
I have one person that told me she's given up trying.
Hmm.
She's just waiting to die. She's just existing. She just like can't get her hopes up or to just be able to, try something because can't be let down again. And there's some work, just so you know, she hasn't given up, but
Right.
she wants to. Like
Yeah.
she's there. She's still showing up but it's like a lockdown on the brain, that
Yeah.
pattern.
And I think that speaks to just how powerful this is. It's powerful work to do. It's life-changing work.
I like to say life-giving.
Life-giving. Yeah.
Giving.
Because if you can help somebody see that feeling, all of it is a rich experience versus trying to hide from all of it. Yeah.
Because when we try to hide from it, we don't heal it. It causes physical things going on in our body, our gut, physical pain, disease. It will manifest in other ways. Even arthritis is supposedly, they say, from not processing our emotions. The brain wants us to believe, well, I'll just not look at it and it'll be okay. No, it's not okay. It causes problems. It causes problems in our relationships with ourselves, with our loved ones, with life, and with our body.
And I would even say it impacts our relationship with God.
Yes.
Right? When we are in that place, it's hard to have that connection with that higher power. Well, I could talk to you forever, Marci. This is awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge and all your goodness. I will be sure to add the PDF to the show notes and tell people if there's one thing they could take today. We talked a lot about it, a lot of things. If you could just give a quick, like if there was one thing they could take today to begin doing, one simple step today, and then tell people where they can find you and follow you. And we're going to mention your self-love lab. So talk all about that.
Okay. So if there's one takeaway for you to remember is that there's nothing wrong with you and that you're not stuck. We just need some awareness. We just need to know what's going on for us, the patterns that stop us, that shrink us, and how to heal them. Like, you're not stuck. It's possible to have freedom from that and to be thriving and happy and connected.
I love that.
So I have my website is marciowen.com. It's my name. I'm on Instagram, marci.owen coaching on Instagram, and same with Facebook. Courageous and Confident Christian Mom podcast on Apple and Spotify. And I have my one-on-one coaching clients that I do, but I'm on my second round right now of my signature offer called the Self-Love Lab. So lights me up to do the lab. And it's like an 8-week experience that ties all this together. I just do a small group because I want to be able to see everybody and connect and know them. Anyway, the next round of that is going to be in January 2025, but the doors to sign up will open on Black Friday.
Hey.
And so you can go on my website and get on the interest list right now. And you'll want to do that because the space is limited, spots are available, and it'll sell out fast. And the people on my interest list will be the ones that'll get first
when it's opening and
first chance to get on. Yeah, get in. So
awesome. I'll put all the links in the show notes for that, and give Marci a follow. And thank you for being here with me and sharing your goodness.
Thanks for having me. I loved being here with you today.
Thank you for tuning in to the Seasons of Joy podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your friends and family. If you want to learn more about me or how to work with me, just visit my website, www.seasons-coaching.com, and have a joyful week.